So I just wanted to share with you a couple of learning lessons that I've had from this experience because it's made me very uncomfortable. Hi, today's video is more of a candid story time video where I'm going to share with you the recent price increase that I did in my business, what I feel like went wrong, what I think I did well, and yeah, I just wanted to take this time to kind of reflect on what's happened. So recently I've been trying to invest more in myself as a leader because I know that as my business grow, we made $500,000 over last financial year and we're aiming to double that and make $1 million this financial year. I know that I need to grow as a business owner and as a leader in order to make this possible. And so one of the things that I did was I onboarded a new business consultant / accountant. Actually, I never have had a business consultant before. I've only ever had accountants, but this guy helps me with business consulting, just seeing where the business is going, helping it get to where we want it to be. But he's also got an accounting side as well, which really helps with finances. And if you know me, you know that I often say I'm not great at my finances. I feel like it's probably the weakest point I have in business. I think I'm very good at marketing. I think I'm pretty good at getting there with building company culture and building a team. Operations is all good, but with finances, I've always just never been quite sure, how much should we be charging? How much should I be paying my tutors? How much do I pay myself at the very end of the day? How much should I be spending on marketing? If I were to have a budget for ads, how much should that be? Should I rent out a space and get an office for my team and I, or do we not have the money for that? So it was just a lot of questions and a lot of uncertainty because even though I tried looking online, it just seems like every business does it differently. So when I onboarded this person, he really helped to clarify for me, what my business looks like at the moment and how we need to get to the next step and how much I could be spending in each of those brackets I was telling you about before. And essentially he was saying that at the current rate we're going, my business wouldn't be profitable because what would happen is that over time, my tutors would get more and more experience. And as they get more experience, obviously I want to pay them for their experience in this field. Otherwise, the other option was to just drop tutors once they hit a certain level of experience and find new tutors. But that's not really good for anybody. That's not good for the tutor to think that they've got a dead end in their career. It's not great for us as a company because it means that we're sacrificing quality tutors to get not that beginner tutors are less quality, but there's just something to be said about having people with more experience on your team, right? That's just better. Oh, how do I say it without making the beginner tutors look bad, because they're not, otherwise we wouldn't hire them. But it's just a different level of training that these tutors have, and we want to keep them on board because they've been our tutors. We're the ones who've been training them, right? So yeah, basically the short answer was that I needed to increase my prices. And I think I know that this is important for my business. I know that it was the right thing to do, but it was an extremely uncomfortable thing to do. I've increased prices before, but I've never really increased them with this short of a notice for parents and students and with as big of a price increase as we did implement. So I just wanted to share with you a couple of learning lessons that I've had from this experience because it's made me very uncomfortable, even though I know that being uncomfortable is a good thing for me in the long run. So I think the first thing I learned from this experience was that, as a business owner, you need to separate yourself, your personal feelings from the business, because what the business needs might be very different from what you want and how you feel about things. So I'm definitely a people pleaser. I like that people like me, and intuitively it just means a lot to me that I can build great connections with people. It's just something that's really important to me. I knew that increasing our prices, this could potentially mean that tutors look at me in a different light, oh, she's just greedy, she's just taking the money for herself. Tutoring, at least the study guides, is already expensive. Now it's just becoming more expensive. So that was a big self-limiting belief that I had to overcome, and to realize that this was a decision that was necessary for the business and that it wasn't going to make everyone happy. So basically in the week leading up to it, and even to today, because it's only been announced a few days ago, so we're still going through the responses from parents and students and tutors, is I just feel really uncomfortable. I've been feeling very stressed and anxious about the responses. Yeah, so that's just that. But I think the takeaway here is that sometimes in business, you just have to do the things that are super uncomfortable, because otherwise, you know, business is a cutthroat world. If you're not going to do the uncomfortable things, you're not going to survive. And that's just that. The second thing that I learned is that people really like transparency. This kind of builds on my first point where I wasn't sure what tutors would think of me and, you know, being a people pleaser. But what I realized is that if I'm transparent about where the funds go, what our next steps are, what our goals are in LSG, then it sort of, like, I think a lot of tutors had questions when we first announced the price increase. And although I did list down a few reasons as to why, I think if I ever do this again in the future, I will be more prepared and write down something that's a lot more solid and fleshed out so that tutors really get the bigger picture of why this is happening. I didn't say to them that, you know, business isn't going to be profitable and that sort of thing. So if you're one of my tutors watching now, that's another thing that you've learned, because I didn't really think that was necessary, because I didn't want tutors to like fear that, you know, their careers were going downhill or anything like that. But giving my tutors a breakdown of where the extra funds would go in the business really helped. And actually I had a lot of tutors email me and say, thank you so much for that transparency. Thanks for sharing. That makes a lot of sense. And I understand that not all businesses need to be this transparent. And, you know, if you are a business owner or want to be a business owner, you might not want to be this transparent. But I realized that like being honest and open is, you know, an inherent value of mine outside of business as well. And so it comes quite naturally to me to involve people and share with them what's going on. So my takeaway from this is to kind of do more of this, share more of the bigger picture with my tutors so that they can understand their role in the business and why certain changes happen. So the takeaway potentially for you is, if you do hire tutors or you have tutors, that it's always a good idea to be a leader in the sense and share with them where the company is going, what are the potential hurdles you're facing at the moment. Like, it doesn't have to be a very isolated experience, which is, I think, something that I've done for myself over the past few years. Like, I've kept a lot of the challenges to myself and dealt with a lot of the problems by myself without passing that on to like my staff. And it's not to say that I'm passing on the problems to them for them to solve, but it's more just like letting them know the reality of what's happening behind the scenes, essentially. The third takeaway, and this is a takeaway that I've learned from my coach because I was telling her all about this experience, is this week has been very reactionary for me. So once we sent out the emails to tutors, to parents and students, we had an influx of, you know, emails and calls like with questions. And so it's been a very reactive sort of response, which has made this week feel very stressful and made me a little bit anxious because I just don't know what's going to be happening next and what email we're going to get next or what question or complaint. And so I think in the future what I'll do is sort of take more time to actually flesh out what are the potential responses people will have as a result of this price increase, and sort of already have maybe like a template of answers ready to go, so that it doesn't feel as reactionary and I'm being more proactive in the response. And I think if I had done that, I would have anticipated more of the questions that have come in and have included them in the initial email anyway, which would have saved us more time and resources which are being spent now. So that's the takeaway for you all. Like, if you are doing a big change in your business, to really kind of think about it beforehand, prepare for the potential response on the other side, and anticipate it. That's all for me. I hope that this gives you a bit of insight into what it's like to run a company, not just a tutoring specific company, but just a company in general as well. If you like this video, then let me know. Comment down in the section below if you have any questions. I have talked more about this price increase in my previous 2 videos, which I'll link for you here if you haven't watched them already. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.